Welcome to American English Dialogues Podcast, the podcast that helps you learn real, everyday English the way it's actually spoken in the United States. I'm your host, and every episode, we're going to listen to, study, and practice natural conversations between real people in real situations, at work, at school, at the store, at the doctor's office, and everywhere in between. Here's the truth about learning a language: you learn it by hearing it, repeating it, and using it. Not just by memorizing grammar rules. That's why this podcast is built around dialogues, short, powerful conversations that teach you vocabulary, pronunciation, tone, and culture all at the same time. Whether you're a beginner just starting your English journey, or an intermediate learner looking to sound more natural and confident, this podcast is for you. So get comfortable. Grab a notebook if you like. And get ready to listen, learn, and speak. This is American English Dialogues Podcast. Let's begin.
Academic dialogues in classroom communication. Key vocabulary. Discourse. Extended spoken or written communication, especially within an academic or intellectual setting. Academic discourse in American universities often involves questioning, hypothesizing, and defending claims. Seminar. A small group academic session where participants discuss ideas, often led by a professor or facilitator. During the seminar, students were expected to engage in dialogue about the assigned readings. Thesis. A central argument or main point that a speaker or writer aims to support and prove. Before the class discussion began, each student stated their thesis clearly so everyone could follow the argument. Socratic. Relating to a method of dialogue based on questioning that stimulates critical thinking and reflection. The professor used the Socratic method, asking probing questions rather than giving direct answers. Paraphrase. To restate someone else's idea in your own words to demonstrate understanding. When the professor's explanation was unclear, she asked a student to paraphrase it for the class. Article. Academic life in the United States is intensely conversational. American educational philosophy has long emphasized active learning, the idea that students learn best not by passively receiving information but by engaging critically with ideas, questioning assumptions, and constructing knowledge through dialogue. For international students and English learners entering American academic settings, understanding how this dialogue functions is crucial to success. The American classroom dialogue differs in important ways from academic discourse in many other countries. Students are generally expected to speak up, offer opinions, challenge professors respectfully, and engage with each other's arguments. Silence is often misread as disengagement or confusion. The student who sits quietly, even if deeply attentive, may be perceived as unprepared or uninterested. Academic dialogue at the college level often follows what educators call exploratory talk, conversation that is tentative, questioning, and open-ended rather than assertive and conclusive. Phrases like "I think," "what if," "building on what she said," and "I disagree, but," signal that the speaker is engaged in genuine intellectual exploration rather than simply reciting a memorized answer. Office hours provide another critical arena for academic dialogue. Many international students are unfamiliar with the cultural norm of visiting professors outside of class to discuss assignments, seek clarification, or explore ideas further. These conversations, though informal, follow their own conventions of polite deference combined with intellectual directness. For English learners, the most effective strategy is immersion in academic dialogue, attending class discussions, participating in study groups, visiting office hours, and reading academic texts allowed to internalize the rhythms of formal intellectual speech. Dialogue. Seminar discussion on climate policy. Professor Chen. Let's begin. What's your thesis on this week's reading about climate policy, Marcus? Marcus. I think the author argues that economic incentives are more effective than regulations in reducing carbon emissions. Professor Chen. Interesting. Can someone paraphrase Marcus's point in different terms? Yuki. Sure. Marcus is saying that paying companies to be green works better than punishing them for being dirty. Professor Chen. Good. Now, does anyone want to challenge that thesis? Priya. I do. I think regulations are essential because economic incentives alone don't protect vulnerable communities who face pollution firsthand. Marcus. That's a fair point, Priya. But regulations can also be slow. Incentives create faster market-based responses. Professor Chen. This is excellent academic discourse. We're hearing both sides. What does the evidence in the text suggest? Yuki. The author actually acknowledges both, but argues that in democratic systems, incentives pass legislation more easily. Professor Chen. Well done. That's the kind of nuanced, thesis-driven dialogue I want to see every week. Learning tips. 5 learning tips. 1. Before class discussions, prepare 2 or 3 questions or comments based on the reading to ensure you contribute confidently. 2. Use discourse markers like building on that idea or to add to what was said to connect your contribution to others. 3. Practice paraphrasing other students' ideas before adding your own. This shows active listening and earns respect. 4. Visit professor office hours at least once a month. These dialogues build academic relationships and improve your performance. 5. Record your contributions in seminars and review them later to identify areas of pronunciation, vocabulary, or argument structure to improve.
And that's our episode for today. Great work staying with us all the way to the end. That takes focus, and focus is how real learning happens. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who is also learning English. And if you have a question, a word you didn't understand, or a topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, we want to hear from you. Remember, learning a language is not a race. It's a journey. And every single episode you listen to, every dialogue you study, every new word you use, that's a step forward. You are making progress. Keep going. This has been American English Dialogues Podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you, or rather, we'll talk to you, in the next episode. Until then, keep listening, keep practicing, and keep speaking. Goodbye for now.